Imagine you're looking at a balancing scale with everything you do for other people on one side and everything you do for yourself on the other side. If it isn't balanced, maybe it's time to spend a little more time on you. And therapy is a great place to start. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online who can help you find that balance and stick to it. Visit BetterHelp.com/positive to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/positive.
What you watch depends on what kind of mood you're in. Sometimes you're craving comedies like Friends or South Park, and sometimes you're more into dramas like HBO's Succession and House of the Dragon. There's also cooking shows like Chopped and Beat Bobby Flay, and even movies like The Lord of the Rings and Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Well, Max is the streaming destination that has the best of entertainment for whatever mood you're in anytime. And plans start at as little as $9.99 a month. Max, the one to watch. Subscription required. Visit max.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Sports Daily on a Thursday here on KFH. Tommy Castor and Paul Savage in for Jacob Albrock today. Jad Chambers producing the show. Our IHOP hotline is open at 869-1240. And Paul, we are incredibly excited to welcome into the program the brand new head coach for Wichita State baseball, Brian Green, on the show. Coach Green, welcome to the show. Welcome to Sports Daily and welcome to Wichita.
Go Shockers. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I am fired up. Our family's fired up. What an incredible opportunity and honor to have this opportunity. So thanks for having us on, and just really, really excited.
Coach Green, I got to get things started. Yeah, I got to get things started here real quick by asking you how your first 24 hours or so in Wichita have been. I know you had your introductory press conference yesterday at X Stadium. You had a chance to visit the stadium, walk around a little bit, talk to legendary baseball coach Gene Stevenson, Brent Kimnitz, the history and the legacy of Shocker baseball. How has your first 24 hours in Wichita been?
Awesome. I didn't sleep, or I got about 3 hours sleep, I think. We left Pullman at, 6:30 yesterday and got in and just went whirlwind. Yeah, toured the facilities. That was very humbling, very emotional. And I knew what the facilities were. I've been to Wichita before, but the mural, seeing Brent Chemnitz in the dugout, kind of just the reality of it, our family's name up on the scoreboard and all of that stuff, very emotional. Just those are you just can't replicate those things. It was very special. Then to meet a lot of the people, the media, the alums. Went to dinner last night with a group. Had an event in the All-American Club up top. Very humbling and just awesome. And you can feel it, you can sense it. It's what we expected in terms of coming into a program with real tradition and real support. And it was everything that we had hoped for. And it's just it's an awesome experience. I'm in the office right now. There's 4 Shocker hats that I just took a picture of, and I'm going to put on group me to the players. And I can't wait to wear these. But it's been awesome, guys. I mean, this is just awesome is all I can say. We're really excited.
Well, we're excited to have you on the show, and we're excited about what the possibilities might be. But I want to walk you back a little bit into your career at New Mexico State. I find it fascinating. I love the state of New Mexico, and I think that New Mexico State, it's one of those places, it's not the easiest place to go in and win basketball, football, baseball. Lou Henson had a great career in basketball at New Mexico State. But you were a player at New Mexico State, you were an assistant coach at New Mexico State, and you were the head coach for almost 5 years. 4 or 5 years. And you won a WAC championship tournament in 2018. You won the regular season in 2019. You won at New Mexico State, which a lot of people say is very, very difficult to do. Tell us about what are the lessons of being able to win championships at New Mexico State. What will that mean to you in your tenure at Wichita State?
I am so glad you asked that question because there were so many lessons learned. I was at the University of Kentucky for 6 years as the hitting coach, and I got the spot where I wanted to be a head coach, and my alma mater opened. It was at a horrible place, program-wise and facility-wise. And at the time, it was about, if you had head coaching experience, that's what the SEC was looking for, and I wasn't in a spot to be in a position to have that. So I chased down that opportunity at New Mexico State, and we promised the community that we would do a bunch of things. And what we learned there was, number one, if you put your head down, you can be successful at a lot of places. But we had to be creative and we had to do some things. But at the end of the day, it was about recruiting really good players, developing their skills, finding a way to be creative with walk-ons and finding that niche of athleticism and strength and seeing if after a 3-year period you could develop them into real players and instilling confidence and having a system of practice. But I think the biggest thing that I learned were those two factors of recruiting and developing, one, but then the community piece. Taking a facility that was really down and turning it into a respectable facility we brought in AstroTurf. And these were all things that we just fundraised ourselves as a coaching staff. And I asked for the blessing of the athletic department. They said, sure. And I think they just kind of rolled their eyes thinking we couldn't get it done. And 6 months later, we had AstroTurf committed. And then we put down a Diamond Club deck and painted everything and turned it into a nice place because, I love the desert. I played there, but I think my driving force was to prove to myself and to the community that we can be successful here. And much different experience here, but I think the lessons that I learned there were how important community is. If you want support, you have to go out and earn it. And it's not just about winning baseball games. There are things you can do prior to that to show the community that you mean business and that you're serious and to let them know how important it is. It's a we situation, not an I situation. So the biggest takeaway is the involvement in the community and just diving in as a head coach and as a coaching staff, excuse me, and just making sure that they're in alignment with the vision and the principles of the program. But leaving New Mexico State certainly gave us a lot of confidence that we could coach and win some baseball games and develop a program because we started off our coaching career, I think, 0-10 and won 11 in our first trip and then flipped it around to 34 the next year. And great experience for me and a great place to make a lot of his mistakes.
Talking to Brian Green. He's the new head coach of Wichita State baseball here on Sports Daily. Glad to have him here on the program. And Coach Green, I want to jump ahead a little bit. I know we'll talk about your time at Washington State here in a few minutes, but I want to jump ahead to the job, the task at hand right now with Wichita State. I know you mentioned it in your press conference yesterday, but there are a lot of current Shocker players that are in the transfer portal right now, talking about the importance to you, the priority of talking to those players, seeing how many of them can come back and play for Shocker baseball. It definitely seemed like there were, some good positive momentum pieces that were on that team this last season. So how important is that for you to be able to go out and make connections with those current players?
Yeah, it's critical. And it's a situation where trust has been depleted or doesn't exist as I'm the new guy and I'm trying to get in here, and I'm a relationship-driven coach and I'm a connection-driven coach, and that's how I coach, and that's how we coach the hitters, and it's how we recruit players, and it's about connecting with families and people. So trying to connect in an extremely fast amount of time has meant that we haven't slept. But zooming with the team is important and sharing the vision. And now it's really about connecting one-on-one and sharing what I am and what our family is and trying to gain information from the players about what's important to them and seeing if there's alignment. But there are so many good pieces. There's 5 or 6 guys who hit 300 or better overall. There's 6 or 7 players who are underneath a 5 ERA. So there are real pieces on this team. So I'm communicating that, but again, top priority is to get these guys back out of the portal and back here to Wichita. And I've also told them that I respect and understand where you are. You're in a leverage situation. You had a very challenging year, but you came to Wichita State for a reason because it's a great place. And you're going to play for a head coach who's going to be passionate about respecting this program and understanding that we've been given an unbelievable opportunity. But we got to get them back. And at the same time, we're going to need to know pretty quickly or we're going to have to go get other players. But, all that NIL stuff that's out there, you're an 18 to 22-year-old and you're hearing that you can make this much money you're going to want to investigate that, even though some of that might not be necessarily the true case. But we're also going to do our part in getting that thing going. And I know this administration is committed to getting into that NIL piece very quickly.
Well, you're a junior college player. You're an ex-coach at the junior college level. I'm a JUCO guy too in football. Went to Baylor University, so I know the value of JUCOs, what they can mean. They're more mature kids when you get them. Just how hard are you going to hit the JUCOs? Listen, the state of Kansas has some of the finest JUCO baseball in the nation, and I'm including California and I'm including Texas. Kansas JUCO baseball is unbelievable, and we've had so many great Kansas Hall of Fame coaches coach at these institutions. How hard are you going to hit the JUCOs, whether it's California, whether it's Texas, whether it's Kansas? Are you going to go get some junior college kids?
For sure, and they're out there right now. It's not just portal. I just got back from Grand Junction. And saw Johnson County. I've got a relationship with Johnson County. We've got a relationship with Cloud. But I absolutely understand the Kansas JUCO system. I've recruited those players, particularly in New Mexico State. We were out here. In fact, I visited Wichita a couple times and then jumped in the car and just took a couple tours around the state with the JUCOs. But there's some good players that are available right now from those junior colleges. And we are going to jump into that very quickly if it looks like our kids are going to find a home elsewhere. So I understand that piece is it's a natural advantage for Wichita State. We've got great junior colleges right here in our state. So we will definitely be hitting that hard. That's one thing that I have to do a great job of in the next 48 hours is making sure those head coaches hear from me with an introduction to myself or just a, hey, I'm back and what do you got? Let's get into it.
Well, as you know, Coach Green, just from your familiarity with Shocker baseball in the past, and then from what you've learned, here recently in taking this position and now being in Wichita, just the legacy, the history, the championships, all of that Shocker baseball has accomplished historically. It hasn't been that way recently, though. It's been 10 years since Wichita State made the NCAA tournament after a long stretch of being kind of a constant player at the very top elite level in college baseball. It's important, I would think, to not only come in and bring your brand of baseball, your style of baseball, do things that you feel like will lead this program to the top of the mountain, but also to balance that and recognize what came before here at Wichita State. So how in your mind do you balance that? Balance what you feel like needs to be done and what's going to be best versus the legacy and the historical nature of Shocker baseball?
That's a good question. I think one of the things that when you go into a situation where there are legends in the program, and particularly if there's been a little bit of a hiatus in winning, I essentially experienced the same thing at Washington State. However, the hiatus has been a lot longer. But there was Bobo Braden, and certainly heard his name every day, but didn't have a chance to talk to Bobo. I mean, I had dinner with Gene last night with Coach Stevenson, and the great thing about listening to Coach talk and him share stories is certainly had great players, but at the end of the day, I think it's really about looking back at when programs are extremely successful, what are they doing? And it always tends to come back to the basics of recruiting good people and tough players, and that they're fundamentally sound and they're well coached and they play with an edge and they're blue collar and they're tough and they want to win and they've got a passion. And those things are fundamentally over time, essentially the same thing. So to answer your question, I think it's important to understand what our identity is going to be. And I can tell you that the identity that I want our program to have is probably similar to the identity that the program did have in terms of those things like being fundamentally sound and being blue collar and being tough and not being afraid of anybody. I'm a little man and a little man complex and a little bit of a runt syndrome at 5'9" and have never been given anything and grew up in a very, very middle class, would be polite to say, with my family, and proud of that. So I want to instill that with our team and get that hunger back. And if there's any pressure within the locker room of the players to live up to the expectations of what the uniform is, that's too hard to do. What we have to do is live up to the expectations of who we want to be. And if we can design who we want to be, I think it's probably going to be right in line with what the history of the program has been, not in terms of the win-loss, but in terms of the attitude and the work ethic.
Well, that's a perfect segue into my next question, because I want to talk a little about expectations, and you touched on it a little bit in that answer. And that is, when you drive by the stadium on 21st Street and you see all the years of championships, you got to understand, Coach, that unless you start putting current years up on that stadium as champions of at least the AAC, you're going to have a rocky road to hoe. The expectations at Wichita State baseball are so high, and I'm just not sure that anybody from outside this area can understand what is expected of them and what the minimum will be to, to remain as head coach in a long-term situation. You're well aware of what you've got to do, and you've got to put years, your dates, your years up on that stadium. Am I far off on expectations on how you will be treated, say, 5 years from now?
No, there's no question. I just absolutely not. There are going to be real pressures here, and I think I've just built from New Mexico State zero expectation to winning a couple of championships to Washington State with not much expectation. A winning season, meaning a game over 500. Hey, great job, really proud of you. But we were entering into year 5, and it's like, okay, what do you got? So we're building and building in terms of my experiences. Look, who's kidding who? I've got to come in here and win baseball games and get this thing right, or I'm out of here. And I appreciate that opportunity and respect the pressure and respect the expectations. This is about winning here, and that is my foundational number one responsibility to the administration for giving us the opportunity. But I know I'm going to get hammered if we come in here and don't do a good job, and that's the way it should be, because with that comes people that are supporting you. That's the only thing that I'll ask on the front end is give us an opportunity in terms of support, see what we can do with that. I think that's one of the things in storied programs. Sometimes they want to sit back and the support comes from show us first and then we'll help you. I think the game has changed with the NIL and the portal, where you really need assistance on the front end if you're even a little down. That's the only thing I would ask, but no question, guys. I've got to win or I'm out, and that's how it should be. So it's going to be hard, and it's going to be challenging, but I want it, and I'm honored to be able to rent this space for a little bit and see what we can do with it.
Well, and I'll tell you one thing, Coach Green, that I appreciated in your press conference yesterday was, you were very clear, in saying that you are in Wichita to take this team back to Omaha. Like that is the goal, right? It's not, about finishing a couple games over 500. It's not about, trying to compete in a conference tournament or maybe go to a regional. It's to get this team back to Omaha. And so, the expectations are there, not only from the fan base and the administration, but I think also those expectations, you have them as well. And so I do appreciate that. Our final question for you, Coach Green, before we let you go, is you mentioned the fan base, giving this program a chance and, seeing what you can do and turning it around. In your mind, I know that it can be really, really simplified with the answer to this question. When I ask what can be done to unify this fan base and rally them around this program, I know it's really easy to say, well, winning baseball games will unify the fan base, but I think there's more to it. I think there obviously is shaking hands and meeting stakeholders and, projecting a vision, all of these different things that a program can do to instill confidence and unify a fan base. Are those things that you feel like are important too in bringing this fan base together?
Yeah, I think it's a foundational importance of the head coach, particularly of a new head coach. But, all of the pros, and I've been doing this for a long time, and that's not necessarily as a head coach. This is year 10, so that's we've got a little underneath us, but 27 years of coaching and thinking of all the conventions, the clinics, those types of things. But it tends to be all the same when the legends get up on stage, the Gary Wards, the Gene Stevensons, the Skip Bertmans. They all talk about the same things, and it's about program, not just winning and not just a team. And so these legends, you hear them talk about how they built their stadiums and how important concessions were and how important relationships with the fans are. That's how I see it. And as the head coach, I don't believe the head coach's sole responsibility is just being the CEO of the program outside of the field. It's got to be about the field foundationally. But getting this thing back, of course, it's about winning. But our players have to be out in the community. And most importantly, the coaching staff, the head coach in particular, has got to be driving that. We've got to go out and earn it. And that's how I feel you really essentially start to build and bring people back. Because I think people respect work ethic, and especially this part of the country. And I think this program in particular, people are going to respect work ethic. Now, if you're working really hard and you can't get it done, well, then you're not good enough. And I get that too. But I'll be out shaking a lot of hands, and we will be out sharing our vision, and we will be out doing everything that we can to earn support. And then we'll work our tails off to put a good program on the field. But it'll definitely be a program that's going to play hard. And I think that's what keeps people coming back also for a short period of time anyways.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate your time. We're going to let you get back to work. We know you've got a lot to do here in the next probably few weeks to a couple months or so. And I feel like we could talk to you for another hour just about your philosophies and all of that. So hopefully we can do this again, have you back on the show, maybe a little bit later on this summer and get a progress update on how everything is going. But we wish you all the best, all the success in the world. And we're glad that you're here. We're glad you're in, and let's go win some baseball games, okay?
That sounds great, guys. I'm off to see if we can grab a couple more guys out of the portal.
Okay.
All right.
So,
that sounds great. We appreciate your time. That's Coach Brian Green, the brand new head coach for Wichita State baseball, and looking forward to seeing what he can put out on the field. And as he said, Paul, it starts with the current players that are in the transfer portal right now to see what he can do and bring in some of those guys back, because I think that having those current pieces, as many of them as possible, back on this roster and avoiding a complete rebuild, that's going to be incredibly essential. But
Gotcha.
we certainly appreciate Coach Brian Green's time here on the program. And if you missed any of that interview, by the way, you can go on to the free Odyssey app. Listen to it right there. Great to talk to him. And we're going to take our final break of the show. Come back, our final full segment coming up next on Sports Daily.
Looking for an adventure? Find yours in a Toyota. Like a Camry with stylish design and a reputation for reliability that can't be beat. Or go with a Corolla, both affordable and capable. With so many trims and features to choose from. Or check out the new Crown, presenting you with luxurious style and elegant amenities to make your day a breeze. No matter your adventure, Toyota has you covered. Visit buyatoyota.com for more. Toyota, let's go places.